Questions for Coach Sumlin, please raise your hand. We'll start with David Kelly, KVOA.
Hey, Coach. Obviously it was hard for us to kind of really tell from home, but it appeared on that fake punt that there really weren't many defensive linemen on the field. How customary is that, and how many different formations do you generally have for punt return?
We've got in those situations, you either leave your defense on the field for what we would call punt safe, or or you have a punt return unit that is composed of a lot of different positions who are specific to punt return. So, in that situation, backed up early in the game, we put the punt return unit on the field, and they got the first down. So those guys are, wide receivers, linebackers, DBs, instead of D linemen that are used to playing the run. But in that situation, I just felt like, that a return was the right thing based on down and distance and based on location on the field. And that was a mistake. So they took advantage of that, and that didn't hurt us. What hurt us was the 3rd and 10 on the next series that they picked up. So whether they got the yard, but we still got them the 3rd and 10 on the next series and gave up a big play and a touchdown.
And just another special teams follow-up. We're seeing you guys utilize that fair catch on the kickoffs more this season. And what's when are you doing that, or when are you asking your returners to kind of utilize that?
I'd rather not share that. Right. So, right. It's all right. Tavion Cunningham is a really good returner. And so is Wiley, but obviously JJ did a lot for us, and we just let him roll with it. But, field position becomes important, and possession of the ball becomes important also. So, he's had some good returns, and we did a study a while ago that if you average 25 yards a kickoff return for the year, you guys can go look it up, see where you'd rank in the country. Right? You'd be in the top 10. So sometimes fair catching the ball is right there.
Do you like that rule? I mean, are you a fan of it, or?
Yeah, I think it's there was some discussion about completely doing away with kickoffs. That comes up every couple years on the rule model when you can change rules, and that's a serious discussion across the country just about player safety. It's a high speed, high velocity, high impact play, but it's also exciting to start the game, but it's part of the rule, and I think based on some kicks, right, short high kicks, which we utilized on the opening kick, a cross-field kick that was short and high, and we're able to tackle them inside the 25 or the 20, right? So there's some strategy involved in that too, and I think you see it on Sundays, and when the guys or like our kicker, like Lucas can kick it, out of the end zone just about every time, even at sea level where we were. But sometimes if you get the right kick, you can get guys inside the 20 with a shorter kick. So if that's the situation and it's got hang time and everything else, fair catch is by the odds is still a better move.
Next question, Michael Love, Arizona Daily Star.
Hey there, Kevin. I know that the team generally doesn't reconvene in full until today, but what was your sense of the guys' moods on the bus, on the plane, maybe guys who might pop into the building yesterday?
Yeah, it's, everybody's disappointed. Nobody's happy, right? Coaches, players, trainers, anybody who was there. And so, we'll have that discussion today, with the team and with our meetings and film review. But there's nobody in this building happy, and the expectations going into that weekend were to get better, and we that didn't happen. And so there's a number of reasons across the board. We as coaches, we didn't adjust quick enough. I think somebody brought up Saturday, there was a completely different game plan offensively than they had utilized the week before. And by coming out and throwing it as much as they threw it, and empty sets and moving around a bunch, we didn't adjust quick enough there, and we didn't adjust quick enough offensively to not really their scheme, but from a protection standpoint. So, as we met yesterday as coaches, we've got to give our players a better chance, and we got to coach better. And our players, based on analytics and, the things that we use to measure player load and speeds, are still, they're still playing hard. All right, they're still running fast, even in the fourth quarter, running by guys. And I know personnel was different at Washington at that point, but we've got to be better as coaches.
When you have a losing streak like you guys have right now, does that have any sort of psychological effect?
Well, I can tell you this. Here's what I'd tell you, Michael. There's a lot of guys that played Saturday night that have lost 2 games. It's a different football team. The losing streak for me is different. I'm the common denominator in that. So that's what that looks like. Everybody can talk about how long it is, but there's a hell of a lot of players who are playing Saturday night that had nothing to do with last year. I mean, a lot of them. So we can lump it all into everything, but you just lump that on me because in the end, my name's on it. And so, I get that. But, going to work and practicing, as I say every year, it's a different team. It's a different bunch of guys across the board on both sides, offensively, defensively, special teams. I think, and to your point, David, against USC, we had 8 walk-ons running down on kickoff. So against Tyler Vaughns and a couple other guys. So, yeah, we're working our way around some things, but there's a lot of guys here that have that don't see it that way, and they're playing a lot.
Next question, Justin Spears, Arizona Daily Star.
After watching the film, why do you think the offensive line struggled on Saturday?
Well, if you watch the film, then Washington's pretty good. They won a lot of blitzes, won a lot of different things. It was man on man, and I said it right after the game. We got whipped up front, and when you're able to do that with a 4-man rush and not blitz sparingly or bring 5, then there's a lot of guys in coverage, and that's why and push the pocket back into Grant's lap, basically. So and when that wasn't the case, they hit him. So he got rattled early, and as I said, we didn't do enough as coaches to help him be better. And it gets back to what I said Saturday night. If you look at the statistics, and the game was a physical game up front where we got whipped on both sides, number one. But number two, third down conversions. They were, about 60% on third down, maybe more. And we were 2 or 3 of 12. So we couldn't stay on the field on offense. And they continued to make third down conversions, even 3rd and 8 and more. So, that's a recipe for disaster against a football team like that has that much talent.
Next question, Troy Hutchison, All Sports Tucson.
So I know you said you got a chance to look at the tape, but what did you see from the receiving core? It seemed like they struggled to get open early in the game, and then later on during the game, Majon Wright was able to get open. Stanley Berryhill. Are there going to be
Majon.
changes in the core and Bijan as well?
No, Majon, right.
Majon, sorry.
Well, we couldn't get open either, right? Early. Man-to-man coverage with a 4-man rush, and you had extra robber in the middle to help spy and do some different things. Like I said, it's not always on the line. It's not always on the quarterback. And so schematically, we got to give them a chance. That's why you saw us go to a bunch sets to try to get guys, force them into some zone. But, realistically, to your point, the personnel changed for Washington in the second half because of the score. So, we've got to continue to be better against man-to-man coverage. We're going to see it just like we saw it against USC. We're going to see it until we prove that we can handle it.
Next question, Rich Herrera, Wildcats Radio, 1290.
Good afternoon, Coach. Fair or not, on television, they showed Grant quite a bit in close-up shots with the frustrated look on his face. Can you talk about his demeanor and how he finally got it in rhythm and picked up the rest of his team towards the end of the game? They also showed it later where he was, after they started to score, rallying the guys on the sideline.
Yeah, he hadn't been through that in high school, as the success he's had, and here really, you know what I mean. He hasn't been through a situation like that where he's pushed, pestered, hit, sacked, fumble. That he hadn't gone through that, and there's two ways to handle it as a coach. With the situation it was in the second half, you pull him out, put somebody else in, get him settled down, or you let him play through it. And that's what we did. Let him play through it. He was different at that point, but as I said, the success coming out of that and working through that, he's got to be better there. He's got to be better as a leader on the field, and that discussion has already been had.
And one quick follow-up, just previewing for UCLA on Saturday for our pregame show on radio. Can you talk a little bit about the Bruins and the challenges they pose?
Yeah, I mean, they the first thing that jumps out at you is Felton's performance Saturday, right? The thing about Chip is, he's and we got to be prepared again. He jumped into a what we call unbalanced set or a loaded set, and Oregon had a hard time stopping it, right? They're running the ball, and even with DTR out, we've got to prepare for both of them. But Chase Griffin as a quarterback, we're very familiar with him from where he's from, and know what kind of competitor he is. But Felton had a heck of a day. Offensively, they had guys out, but they were able to utilize the running game and stay in the game. So they've got talent there, even though he's young, and who knows what the status of DTR is. Defensively, first stat that jumps out at you is they lead the league in sacks, right? They're coming off a night like last night. 2 nights ago, that's the first thing that got my attention. So, they've done a good job. And on third downs too, I think they're in the top 3 or 4 in our league, right about 36%, something like that, on third down defense. So they're getting you behind the chains with sacks. They've got their last opponents behind the chains with sacks, and they're playing well on third down. They're getting off the field and getting their offensive ball.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next question will go back to Michael Lev.
Realizing that you, of course, don't want to reveal all of your secrets to UCLA, but is moving Donovan Lai to right tackle something that you would at least consider?
I don't know about that. We've it's one of those things, right, where last year it was on us about moving guys around every week. Right now, we got to fix the problem. And so, how to fix the problem is getting our not our best 5 players on the field at one time in the offensive line. I said this for a long time. It's not the best 5 individual players. It's the best 5 that play together, that communicate. And, as a coach, I grew up, Joe Tiller was a line coach. And he used to say, you're not looking for 5 pennies, you need a nickel in there. And so, Peyton, early in the game, he was frustrated, gave up a couple things. Donovan, inside there, you got the hold and the sack fumble, right? So, there were issues across the board. And, what we have to do is continue to grow as an offensive line and, just moving from side to side and what hands down and what you see can change and stunt your growth. So, I think you saw what we did in that situation was just go with our backup and go with the backups at different times. And then we got to be able to communicate a little bit better up front. So, and also, as I said to start, we have to adjust and also give our guys a plan that in situations like that, where schematically it's good, but maybe physically there's mismatches or matchup problems and matchup issues, and we need to recognize that quicker and have answers.
What is your assessment of the play of the safeties so far?
Which ones? Just all, we played a bunch of them, right?
Your safeties, the group as a whole.
As a whole, I think, Jackson Turner has had his moments, right? He has really come on, which he's nursing a little bit of an injury, but he's played through it. I think that he's made some really good plays. He's got a couple penalties that are questionable, but he's been aggressive. But for the most part, he's having the season that we thought he would have. He's got a little nagging injury, but he's playing through it. It's a heck of a play he made on the when they tried the 2-point conversion and the kicker. Amongst other plays that he's made, all year. So, we've got to continue to develop at the other safety position, and I think we got some balls that the 2 long runs got out because of a missed tackle. So, from the safety position, it got to the second, or what we call it, the third level, and we got to get that ball on the ground. So, it's we've got some guys who have not been available. Maybe the first week or so. I think you saw a couple of those guys in the game at the end. So, we're going to get the best guys on the field.
One more personnel question for you. I remember there were times with Colin Schooler where maybe he'd get caught up in directing traffic or being that leader of the linebacking crew or even the whole defense at the expense of his own play. Do you get the sense at all that Anthony Pandy is maybe thinking a little bit too much on the field and not playing as fast as he might otherwise?
Well, he was, I think, Saturday night, it's no excuse, but, he didn't practice until really Thursday or Friday. So, he was down a little bit in his reps and what was going on. And to Pandy's, defense, he's never had to do that, right? So he's somebody's always, it's the hardest thing I can remember, even for me as a player. I had a guy, Brock Spack, who's a coach now, and who told me what to do when I was younger. And you just played, right? All of a sudden that guy leaves, and now, it's well, we don't huddle anymore. Nobody huddles hardly. But now you're looking at everybody else telling them what to do and making changes, and it slows you down a little bit. So, the lack of practice for him last week, I think, hurt him. He's a very prideful guy. So, he's fine now. I look for him to bounce back and be better this week.
We have time for one more question for Coach, and we'll go back to Justin Spears.
So last week was the first time you guys were able to travel and be on the road. Overall, just how was the experience?
Well, it was an awful experience based on the outcome.
But before the game leading up to it, I mean, what was it like, during a season like this one?
Well, it's a little bit different. Like I said, our administrations, Dr. Paul, Dennis Polian, and Brian Despain have done a great job, not a good job, a great job of eliminating or avoiding some of the things you see around the country. As I said, knock wood, right? Because things can change daily. But our players are used to protocol and spacing on the plane. We did our security check here at the building. So once we got on the bus, we were all together. The guys who were tested that morning, we tested Friday morning and then got those results back during our workout. And then that travel party, for everybody who was on that travel party, we did our screening here in the indoor. And then once we got on the bus, it was everybody who was tested, everybody who was available, and we were all negative. Bus, plane, then buses to the hotel. And as I said a week ago, it's hard on these guys because families usually travel. Families usually have time to see their sons Friday night or Saturday during the day, particularly with a 5 o'clock game. Nobody's allowed in the hotel, and nobody's allowed to leave. Nobody's allowed to get in there. So a lot of the problems and issues you've seen with a lot of teams have been on road trips and things like that. So they did a great job in Bellevue at the Hyatt Regency, and security was great, and food was grab and go. We didn't sit together or sit in our old banquet style deal. And that's where we are right now. And it's a little bit different, but because of the people that I talked about earlier and what our guys have been used to from an experience and how they've handled COVID, the travel part and the safety of the players, the safety of the staff was the number one priority. And I thought it went well.
And just last question, UCLA is dealing with some COVID issues. I'm wondering, how does that affect your game plan or prep for this week?
It doesn't. You've seen and across our league, you've had games canceled on Friday, right? We're one of them. Washington State last week, right? For our players and for our coaches, hey, listen, that's who we're playing. And so we today, we'll watch our video of Washington, make our corrections, and then start installing the game plan with the players this afternoon and get on the field tonight for UCLA.
All right. Thank you, everybody. That's all we have for